What's going on, guys? Drunk Italian here, and welcome to my newest NHL series called Let's Find Out. This series is all about uncovering the truth behind the game. Every episode, I'll attempt to answer a question that I think the community would like to be answered. So, of course, I'll need your input. If you have a question that you want answered for the next episode, feel free to leave it in the comments section below. I'll occasionally go through the comments and consider answering the questions that have garnered the most support. For this first episode, I've taken the liberty of coming up with a question myself. Have you ever wondered what the best way to score in NHL 16 is? Well, let's find out. To answer this question, I created a little experiment. I played 10 games and kept track of each shot by type, as well as the number of goals scored with each shot type and the location in which they were scored on the ice. I compiled all of this data onto a Google Sheet, so if you guys wish to open that up and follow along, you can do so by clicking the link right here. I'll go ahead and wait for you. Go ahead, check it out.
So we keep waiting on the world to change.
Alright, so now that we're on the same page, you can see that I've categorized every possible shot type into 8 different categories. Wrist shots, slap shots, backhands, one-timers or cross creases, point shots, which I define as shots from defensemen that originated from the blue line, deflections, rebounds, and breakaways. So now that we've got what we need, let's find out what the best way to score is in NHL 16. The first shot we're going to examine is the single most popular shot in hockey, the wrist shot. Wrist shots can be taken from all areas of the ice. Most of mine came from off the rush. However, on occasion, I was able to work the puck around the offensive zone long enough to open up a shooting lane from the slot. So as you can see, the goalies were fairly good at making clean saves, or they would just direct the puck from a rebound into low-risk areas. Throughout the 10 games I played, I averaged 6.5 wrist shots a game. So as you can see, most of the goals came from very different situations, whether it was a trickling shot to the 5-hole, a pullback wrister from the slot, capitalizing on a terrible giveaway by the goalie, or simply beating the goalie clean off the rush. Here are the stats. Wrist shots accounted for around 32% of my shots, but only 13% of my goals. I ended up scoring 5 goals off wrist shots, and this resulted in an overall shooting percentage of just under 8%. My goals didn't seem to come from any particular location, as some were from the high slot, while others were from near the edge of the goal crease. Overall, the wrist shot was a mildly effective shot. I mostly used it to get the puck on net when I didn't have any other options. But if you're going to rely on scoring with the wristers, I suggest one of 2 possible strategies. Either peppering the goalie with as many shots as possible, hoping something goes in, or just working the puck around in the offensive zone until you create a perfect slot shot opportunity to snipe it top cheese. Otherwise, the wrist shot is definitely not the best way to score in NHL 16. The next shot we're going to look at is the clapper, the clap bomb, the cannon, the bar down baby, or as regular people call it, the slap shot. Like wrist shots, slap shots can be taken from all areas of the ice as well. Most of my slap shots either came from terrible angles or glorious opportunities in the high slot. So as you can see, the goalies were very good at controlling the rebounds, as well as directing the puck away from the goal to avoid secondary scoring chances. So throughout the 10 games I played, I averaged 5.5 slap shots per game. So most of my goals came from very different situations. However, I found that the most effective way to beat goaltenders clean was to shoot low. Yeah, it sounds and looks a lot better when you go bar down, but I found that to be a rare occurrence during my 10-game run. So here are the stats. Slap shots accounted for 27% of my shots and 18% of my goals. I ended up scoring 7 slap shot goals, and this translated to an overall shooting percentage of just around 13. Most of my goals appeared to coalesce around the high slot, with a couple of exceptions. Overall, the slap shot was slightly more effective than the wrist shot. I used it in situations similar to the wrist shot, yielding greater results. If you're going to go for slap shots, make sure you're doing some of these things. If the goalie is standing up, put the puck low on net, either to beat him clean or to cause a rebound. If the goalie is on his knees in the butterfly, put that bad boy upstairs. And lastly, make sure you switch your offensive strategy to crash the net so that there's a greater chance your players will either screen the goalie, get a deflection, or pounce on the loose puck after a rebound. I would recommend using the slap shot over the wrist shot if you've got the time and space to set one up. However, it is still not the best way to score in NHL 16. Now it's time for the weakest shot in the game, the backhand. Simply put, backhands in NHL 16 are completely one-dimensional. The only scoring chance you'll generate using a backhand will be when you're alone against the goaltender. This is because the backhands in NHL 16 are mostly flicks, rather than Sidney Crosby or Patrick Kane backhanders we see in the real NHL. Throughout the 10 games I played, I averaged 3 backhanders per game. My backhand goals were always a direct result of beating the last defender and then making a move on the goalie in tight. Of course, I also walked right into the slot and flicked it top shelf. I really thought that it would be more successful with the backhand, however this was not the case. Here are the stats. Backhanders accounted for 15% of my shots and 11% of my goals. I ended up just scoring 4 goals on the backhand, and this resulted in a shooting percentage of 13%. So as you can see, every single one of my backhand goals were scored right around the crease, usually after a quick deke from side to side. Overall, the backhand was as effective as the slap shot, although the chances come a lot less. If you're going to use the backhand, you've got to get in tight on the goaltender. Do not expect to beat a goalie clean with a backhand snipe. I would recommend the backhand when the opportunity presents itself. Do not go out of your way to get off the backhand shot, as there are other, more reliable options. Now we're going to start looking at some of the less common shot types, starting off with the point shot. Point shots are often either slap shots or one-timers, however, they are categorized separately based on the context in which they occur. So point shots originate from near the blue line, and while they're relatively simple to pull off, I found it surprisingly difficult to score with them. As you can see, most of the point shots I took were saved mainly because there was no screen in front of the goalie. However, when there was traffic in front, shots started to become increasingly effective. Throughout the 10 games I played, I averaged only 1.7 shots per game. My 2 point shot goals were almost identical plays. They came from a one-timer from the point, beating a screened goaltender on the far side. Here are the stats. Point shots accounted for a measly 8% of my shots and only 5% of my goals. However, since I didn't take many point shots, I still ended up with an 11% shooting percent. Both of my goals came from almost the exact same spot as well. The point shot was very disappointing. I tried to use it mainly when my opponent was guarding the slot area, however it didn't seem to give me much of an advantage. I wouldn't recommend using the point shot unless you've got teammates in front to either screen the goalie or provide deflections. The point shot is definitely not the best way to score in NHL 16. So next up are deflections. Deflections aren't really shots, however, it's in its own category simply because it couldn't be tied to any other shot type. The deflection is one of the rarest occurrences in the game, depending on how often you use the point and whether you have teammates in front available to provide deflections. My only 2 deflection goals came by chance, off a slap pass to a wide open teammate in perfect position, and off my teammate's ass who was parked in front. Deflections accounted for 5% of my shots and 5% of my goals. I ended up just scoring 2 goals from 11 deflections, resulting in a shooting percentage of 18%. I would strongly advise against trying to score off deflections. If it happens, then good on you, but it probably wasn't intentional. Rebounds are in the same boat as deflections. You probably won't intend to go for a rebound, they just kind of happen. The rebound is a very rare occurrence as well, depending on how many shots you take per game and whether you're shooting to score versus shooting to get a rebound. I ended up scoring a surprising amount of rebound goals, but I can't say that they were always my intention. Rebounds accounted for only 3% of my shots, but 13% of my goals. I ended up scoring 5 goals from only 7 total rebounds, resulting in a crazy 71% shooting percentage. This is misleading though, considering the tiny sample size and the small amount of shots that I actually took. Do not rely on scoring off rebounds. If goalies start coughing up more rebounds, or if you somehow figure out a way to create more rebounds, you'll score a lot of goals. Otherwise, you might as well just stick to the primary scoring opportunities. Next up is the breakaway. Once you've mastered some of your personal breakaway moves that work well, it becomes a very effective way to score. However, against skilled, defensive-minded opponents, breakaways are very hard to come by. Through my 10 games, I only had 3 breakaways. Even though I managed to score on 2 of the 3, breakaways are definitely not something you want to rely on happening every game to get you the win. Last, but certainly not least, we have the one-timer. The good old cross crease, or as I like to call it, old reliable. This shouldn't come as a surprise to any of you when I say that the one-timer is the best way to score in NHL 16. Whether you're shooting far side or short side, whether you're aiming top cheese or low blocker, if you've got a man open in the slot and your cross-ice pass gets through, that shit's going in 60% of the time. Let's put it this way, you're more likely to score a one-timer in NHL 16 than you are to guess heads or tails correctly in a coin toss. Even though I only had 18 one-timers, I scored on 11 of them, and averaged 1.1 one-timer goals per game. And it's not like that's all I went for either. As you can see, one-timers only accounted for 9% of my shots. Of course, I didn't include all the one-timer attempts that got broken up or blocked by defenders. Had those gotten through, the shooting percentage might have been a lot higher. So as you can clearly see, my one-timer goals came from within a very concentrated area in the low slot, which has been commonly referred to as the skill zone. Those of you who play high-level NHL are well aware of this hotspot and likely are trying anything and everything to defend it. So now that you can see where I've been scoring most of my one-timer goals, why would anyone not prioritize covering this spot in the defending zone over others? Yeah, it's frustrating, but sadly this is the current reality of the game. This is why many players get frustrated when they outshoot their opponents by a wide margin, yet still end up losing the game. Odds are, if you're not doing one-timers, you're likely to lose the game. Well, that about wraps up this video, boys. Thanks for watching. If you've got a question you'd like me to try and answer in the next episode of Let's Find Out, be sure to leave it in the comments section below. If you like this video and this series concept, be sure to leave me a like so I know, and I'll continue making more of these. Subscribe if you're new. I'm the Drunk Italian, and now you know the best way to score in NHL 16. I'll see you in the next one, boys.